I've yet to meet a little boy who hasn't dreamed of having a dirt bike of their own. But kids' dirt bikes tend to either be toys that lack the robust features necessary to keep their attention, or high-end machines that share the same specs as their adult counterparts as well as their big price tags. Until now. The KM01 e-dirt bike from Fifth Wheel promises to bridge that divide with the speed and power and real dirt bike feel that kids crave while offering the safety features, maintenance-free operation, and reasonable price point that puts parents' minds at ease. In this video, I'm going to show you what comes in the box, how to set it up, and then we'll see how it stacks up to the marketing claims in our real-world testing. Plus, we'll share the biggest consideration you might not have thought of that'll help you decide whether or not the KM01 is right for you, so stay tuned. But first, what's up? I'm Jeff. Welcome to my backyard. This channel is fun-sized adventures where we're all about trying to help parents like you build some backyard fun for your kids while keeping it on a budget. When you order your electric dirt bike from the Fifth Wheel website, you'll get free shipping. And while we wait for it to arrive, let's run through the marketing claims that are made about the KM01. Claim number 1, it's beginner friendly. Claim number 2, it's built for kids ages 6 to 12. Claim number 3, it can support a max rider weight of 132 pounds and a height of 60 inches. Claim number 4. It boasts a top speed of 15.5 miles per hour. Claim number 5. It says it has a range of 13.7 miles on a single charge. And then lastly, claim number 6. They repeatedly mention that the KM01 is fun. But is it fun? We'll soon find out. If you want to read through these claims yourself, check out the links down in the description for more information, including current pricing. All right, the dirt bike has arrived. Inside the box, you'll find the dirt bike itself, plus all the little bits and pieces you'll need to install, as well as all necessary tools to do so. But you're probably going to want a knife or scissors because there's a lot of zip ties to cut. One thing I really appreciate is that in addition to having an instruction manual, the steps necessary for the setup are actually printed in a quick start guide on the inside flap of the box itself, which is a nice touch. First, you're going to install the front fender, and the hardware to do so is already screwed up underneath the fork here. Next, we're going to install the front tire. There doesn't appear to be a right or a wrong way, so just loosen up the bolts on either side, slide it up into the fork while getting these little metal washers with a hook on them to hook into this hole. Then tighten both sides down with the included wrench. Then you're going to install these plastic fork covers with the 2 bolts that are already screwed into the side of the fork. Then moving on to the back end of the bike. We need to get this bolt off and then thread it through this hole in the lower end of the shock before tightening it back up. Step 5 is installing the number plate, which gets secured with this Allen bolt right here and at the bottom with these 2 plastic tabs that slot into 2 holes in the top of the fender. Then finally, you install the handlebars. This is the trickiest part. There are 2 black metal brackets that are flat on the bottom. These sit on top of the metal plate, then the handlebar sits on top of those, and a similar metal bracket that is curved on the top sits over that. This might take a minute because you need to thread the bolts through multiple holes all the way down into what they screw into. So just try to get the threads started on each one before going back and tightening them all down, alternating each bolt after doing a couple twists so that you get it even all the way around. Then congratulations, the setup is complete, but there's still 2 things left you've got to do. First, you've got to pump up the tires to about the 35-40 PSI range, and then put it on the charger before using. When you plug the charger into the wall, it'll have a green light on it, and then that turns red when you plug it into the bike. And then it turns green again once the charging is complete. Then once it was all charged, all of my boys were excited to give it a ride. Let's go. Now that they've had a few weeks to get used to it and thoroughly test it out, let's see how it stacks up to these marketing claims. Claim 1 was that it was beginner friendly. And I have to say that, in my estimation, it has stood up to that. It has 3 speed modes. The first one will top out at 5 miles an hour, the second one at about 7.5 to 8 miles an hour, And then the top speed in mode 3 brings you all the way up to that 15 miles an hour or so. And all of my kids started on level 1, got used to it, and then once they did that, we moved up to level 2 and then worked their way up to level 3, and they all graduated up to level 3 within the first 10 minutes of riding it. The one thing that is a little weird I thought about the Switch is that one way is level 1, flipping it all the way the other way is level 2, and then like splitting the difference and having it in the middle is level 3. And like I said, within the first time trying it, most kids are probably going to work their way up to level 3 and then it's just going to stay there. But having that ability to let them get used to it gradually is definitely what makes this beginner friendly. Claim 2 was that it was built for ages 6 to 12. Here in my house, other than this baby who's not riding any dirt bike, we have a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 13-year-old. Miles, my 6-year-old, got up and running and had no trouble. You can see here, he looks pretty perfectly fit for this. It doesn't seem too big for him. The 8-year-old, where he's kind of right in the middle, you could tell that he looks perfect on it. 12-year-old is looking a little bit big, as well as the 13-year-old who's actually above the age range. They're both definitely look too big for it, but they're both within the weight range. And as a result, it was definitely still enough that even my older kids could have fun with it. Claim number 3 was that the max rider weight of 132 pounds and max height of 60 inches. And my 12-year-old is right about 100 pounds and right about 60 inches. And like I mentioned, you can see he looks a little bit big, but he could still use it without issue. He's not quite to the point where the handlebars are knocking into his knees, but he's pretty close to it. My 13-year-old, who like I mentioned is outside of the recommended age range, is a little bit taller, a little bit heavier. He gets around okay, but you can see his knees are starting to get in the way of those handlebars. It's getting a little bit awkward. It looks a little bit like a circus bear. The only time either of them get into any trouble is when they're trying to go up a hill. And this is only recommended for up to a 15% grade, which the hills that they're having trouble with are probably at that or maybe even a little bit steeper. So within the 15% or lower grade hill, they're having no problems, even at the top end of the size range. On flat ground, I can even squeeze myself onto it and get around surprisingly well. It seems like it has enough power to do so, but it's not taking me up any hills at about 190 pounds. And it's worth noting that anything outside of the suggested weight range might be putting undue stress on the motor, so do so cautiously. Claim number 4 was a top speed of 15.5 miles an hour. In our tests, we were able to hit even above that going downhill, and going uphill, it tops out a little bit lower, but definitely in the range suggested. Claim number 5 was that it could go up to 13.7 miles on a single charge. So it's a quarter mile to the end of our dead-end street and back.
You mean D-then?
Take it another lap! Go, 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 go! In our testing, it lasted about an hour of constant throttling and went about 11 miles. But that was with the majority of the riding being done by our larger kids, who are right near the top of the weight range. And that ride included over 600 feet of elevation gain. If the majority of the riding had been done by our smaller kids, I'm sure you could hit that 13.7 mile range. Speaking of reaching the end of the battery, when you turn it on with this button here, it has 4 lights that light up that disappear as the battery drains. Shortly after it gets down to just 1 light left, we did notice that the power started to be greatly reduced. You can see this is my kid, who's actually a little bit too big for it anyway, who's riding it here, and it was definitely struggling to get along. So we brought it back, put it on the charger. I didn't witness it, but my kids have said that another time it got so low that it did start beeping at them. But for most riding scenarios, once it drops down to 1 light, know that you need to wrap it up pretty quick. But to answer claim number 6, is it fun? After hours and hours of use, I think I can answer that with a resounding yes. The kids love riding it around our backyard and on our trails. More importantly, it doesn't go so fast that anybody's going to get really hurt. Either way, you should always wear a helmet, and if you're unsure, wear maybe some knee pads and elbow pads. From my research, the closest competitors on the market are brands like Razor or GoTrax. And when you stack this one up next to those, it definitely, in my opinion, has the best balance of features and price. And after a couple weeks of riding it every day, you can see that it's held up to any abuse we could throw at it. It is rated water resistant at IPX4, which means it can handle some splashing, but definitely don't submerge it. But there's one more thing, and this is probably the most important consideration that maybe you haven't thought of. And that is, where are you going to ride it? We happen to have the perfect scenario here between our driveway, our big yard, and a couple acres of land with trails winding through it. But I know that that's not most people. If you're coming from a background where you're used to dirt bikes, then you know that things like this are definitely not street legal. And maybe you're just a normal suburban parent that's coming from, maybe your kids had an electric scooter and they're looking to go up a step to this. Then the one thing you need to know is that most e-bike laws let you ride a pedal assist bike up to 20 miles an hour if you are a kid. Where this doesn't have pedals at all, it falls clearly under the dirt bike laws. So just bear that in mind. Here at my house, we live on a dead-end street, so you saw us testing it on the road some. Very confident that none of my neighbors are gonna snitch on me. But if you live in a more populated area, you should know that you're gonna need somewhere designated to ride it, and that's gonna be on private land, whether that's your own or someone else's with permission. But once again, if you're interested in more information, check out the links in the description. Those are affiliate links, so they'll help my channel earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. But if after all that information you think maybe this isn't for you, then check out this video where I'll show you something that's a little bit more low-key, a little bit more friendly to a suburban driveway setting. See you over in that video. Until next time, get out there with your kids and have a fun-sized adventure of your own.